The ACT, the SAT, they're both time tests. Both of them have an extreme time constraint on students, which makes them less confident coming in, causes anxiety during the test. And the way that students are able to cope with that is trying to figure out how their timing is by looking at an analog clock, or when a proctor is in the room writing every 5 minutes that it's taking the test. Knowing when every 5 minutes is doesn't really help anyone. I figured there had to be an easier way. There had to be a way to design a watch where students could literally glance at the watch and know exactly where they are in respect to the test. When I was taking the test, I had a huge time constraint. I had a problem with timing, and there was nothing out there that you could practice and prepare with that you could ultimately bring into the test as well. So what me and my dad ended up having to do was we went to Target. We found the cheapest watch with an actual timer on it, which was $35. We had to go into the back, snip out the sound, snip out the backlight, and then I could finally bring it into the actual test. Just having a little timer allowed me to time properly, but that wasn't even specific for the test. 10 months ago, I was in my dorm, and it hit me. How do I have such a great idea that could help so many people, and I haven't really done anything with it? I'm a student just like everyone else. I knew what I would have wanted in a timer, and I incorporated that into a watch that we're finally being able to take it public and offer it to students across the country. I think that this is really the new technology. This is the new way that digital watches are going to look. We went from really initial prototypes where all you basically did was you would pick your section and start the test, to adding a watch mode version of it. Now we finally have a really clean-cut design on an HD screen where not only is it a regular modern-looking watch, it's made specifically for the standardized test. So rather than having to input the amount of time, so you have to click your button 35 times for the one section and 60 times for another section, all you gotta do is pick the test, start the timer. It's as simple as picking your section, starting the test, and starting to time better. The iPhone didn't come with a manual. Why should a simple, unique watch come with a manual either? So the watch is pretty self-explanatory. You hit watch mode, and it's a regular watch. You can hold down watch mode for 3 seconds, and then you can change the date, you can change the time, you can change the day of the week. It is a regular watch. Now when it's back and it's not blinking and it's on the home screen, you hit the test mode button when you're ready to test. Immediately the choose button flashes on the screen and it directs you to hit the test mode button. As you hit the test mode button, you go through the preset timing for each of the sections of that specific standardized test. So specifically for the ACT, which is our first one that's being launched, as you hit the test mode button, you see English, math, reading, science, writing, and then if you hit it again, it goes back to that initial English section. When you're ready to start the test, all you gotta do is you pick your section, start the test by hitting the start stop button, and then immediately 3 things on the screen are going on to help you. First thing is the total amount of time. Just a quick friendly reminder. Then there's the time remaining. It's easy to see, no questions asked. The last thing is an actual track with different meters that represent key points in each of the sections. It's not some fairy dust where you're gonna spray yourself and you're gonna score 36. But what it's gonna do is it's gonna allow students to come into the test and be confident, pace correctly, and save seconds and minutes. I've talked to a lot of tutoring companies. The way that we structured the watch was in a way that it could correspond to different tutoring. So the same way that you practice and prepare and take practice tests, you can practice and prepare with this watch. We've been told it's the perfect supplement to tutoring. Of the minimal kids that have used it, every single one of them had a positive experience. We've had scores go up by as much as 2 points on the overall test, 4 points on individual tests. So for students to ultimately have a positive experience but also really enjoy the watch has been as much as I can ask for. Now we easily could have licensed it to a big company, big organization, but it's always been a passion of mine to actually do it the right way, to get it in the hands of the right people, to get it to people that truly care about this test. 3 years ago, I was taking the test. So for students out there taking this test, you know, it wasn't long ago that I was there. Our goal from the beginning has always been to help students. We're for the students, and we're always going to be about the students. I think one thing that's really cool about, testing timers is that all the people working for testing timers are young people that are motivated to help students like them. They're passionate about this idea. They know it would help them. It's gonna help students just like us. So we have the ACT watch being manufactured right now. The SAT watches are past, our prototype, and we're about to start the manufacturing for that. Ultimately, we're looking to branch on to all standardized testing. Anything from an AP test to a BAR, GMAT, LSAT, MCAT. The overall mission is to get this in the hands of as many students as possible and, hopefully save a lot of time for students.